This is the unbelievable story of a 35-year-old man from Hanoi who woke up in his old house but found everyone was missing and his house was abandoned. Not only that, when he checked his ID, it said that he had been missing for 7 years. What the hell happened? Did he somehow time travel? Was he in a coma? And why did his family abandon him? Let's find out. It all started on April 2023 when the Hanoi police received a very strange call from a local resident. The man told the police to go to an abandoned house in the area because there was a strange man inside who had not left the house for several days. Apparently, neighbors had seen the man through the window, but nobody had dared to approach him. According to them, the man looked like a ghost as he was very thin and hadn't washed himself for days. It was also very strange because they knew the house was empty since the beginning of the year and they had never seen anyone enter it. So they assumed the man was a homeless person who had broken into the house to spend the night, but the police didn't believe this. The house belonged to a well-known local family, and they were certain that someone would have noticed if someone had entered it. So they went to check it out. When they got to the house, they indeed saw a man sitting on the floor, just like the caller had described. He was too thin and dirty to tell how old he was, but he didn't seem to be homeless. In fact, the officers soon realized that he came from a wealthy family. The man was wearing a shirt and shoes that were clearly expensive, even though they were very dirty. Plus, there was a brand new motorbike parked in front of the house. But where were his parents? Why did they leave him alone in that house? As soon as they realized the man was a homeless person who broke into the house by accident, the cops tried to talk to him. But when they asked him questions about his family or personal information, he would always answer that he didn't know what they were talking about. And no matter what the police did, they could not get him to speak coherently. At some point, he seemed to have a mental breakdown and started shouting and laughing at the top of his lungs for no reason whatsoever. After that, he calmed down again and pretended nothing happened. At first, the police thought the man had taken some drugs, but after examining him, doctors concluded that he was mentally unstable and possibly suffered from schizophrenia. But how could this have happened overnight? Had he been ill for days and the neighbors didn't notice? But if that was the case, why didn't he leave the house? They were desperate to get answers, but the man refused to cooperate and continued to act strangely. The officers then searched the rest of the house to see if they could find any clues about what was going on. When they opened the fridge, they found some rotten food, which meant the man had been living there for quite some time. But there was something else that caught their attention. On the wall, they found a calendar that read the year 2016. Who was this man? Why did he think it was 2016? And where was his family? After spending several hours trying to get the man to talk, the police eventually managed to convince him to go with them to the hospital. But when they arrived there, they learned that he was already listed as a patient. It turned out that the man had been brought to the hospital 1 week before, but no one ever picked him up. When the doctors examined him, they made a shocking discovery. Even though the man appeared to be 35 years old, he had the heart of a 40-year-old, the lungs of a 50-year-old, and the body of an old, frail man. How could this be? When the news of the mysterious man broke out, many people came forward claiming to know him. One of them was his neighbor, who revealed that the man's name was Nguyen and that he lived in that house with his parents and younger sister. His parents ran a successful noodle shop, and the family seemed happy and well off. Then, 7 years ago, something terrible happened. One evening, the residents heard gunshots coming from the Nguyen family's house. Soon after that, blood started flowing through the streets, and paramedics arrived carrying an injured woman on a stretcher. It was Mrs. Nguyen, the mother. She had been shot in the head and died on the way to the hospital. The police never found out who shot her, and the case remains unsolved. Then, 1 day later, Mr. Nguyen and his son disappeared. They left behind their wallet, phone, money, and other belongings. It was as if they vanished into thin air. When the police searched their house, they found signs that Mr. Nguyen had recently been involved in illegal gambling. They believe he got into debt and was forced to sell his son to a human trafficking ring. This theory seemed plausible, especially because the door was slightly ajar on the day of their disappearance, which suggested that they left the house voluntarily. However, DNA tests later revealed that neither Mr. nor Mrs. Nguyen's DNA was on the door handle. This meant they were most likely kidnapped, but this was only a theory. The police had no evidence to back it up, and so the case went cold. Mr. Nguyen's sister graduated from university that same year, and she dedicated her life to finding out what happened to her family. Every day she visited the police station to ask for updates, but they never had any new leads. Eventually, she gave up and moved to another city to start a new life. But now, 7 years later, the strange man from the house was obviously connected to this case. But how? Had he been kidnapped along with his father? Or was he the missing Mr. Nguyen? To find out, the police took him to the hospital where they took a sample of his DNA. A few days later, the results confirmed what they suspected. The man was indeed Mr. Nguyen, but how did he survive for 7 years without anyone noticing? Even though he had the heart of a 40-year-old and the lungs of a 50-year-old, the doctors said Mr. Nguyen was in perfect health. His body just looked much older than he was, and although he couldn't remember anything that happened in the past 7 years, the doctors believed he had been living in that house the entire time. But how? When the police returned to the house to search for more clues, they found a secret tunnel in the backyard leading to an underground bunker. Mr. Nguyen had apparently been living in the bunker since 2016, but why? The truth was shocking. When Mr. Nguyen's family was kidnapped, he decided to stay in his house to protect it from intruders. That's why he barricaded himself in the bunker with only a small opening to peek out of. But how did he survive all those years without food or water? When the police finally got him out of the bunker, they found a stash of canned food and water. Clearly, Mr. Nguyen had planned to stay in there for the long haul. But why did he pretend to be a crazy homeless person instead of calling for help? There are two possible explanations. Either he was suffering from schizophrenia and completely lost touch with reality, or he pretended to be homeless to avoid being recognized. This would explain why he was wearing dirty clothes and didn't wash himself. But it doesn't explain why he was sitting in his house instead of hiding in the bunker. Well, the thing is, the last time anyone saw Mr. Nguyen alive was the day his wife and son disappeared. He was devastated and probably fell into a deep depression that made him lose his mind. In fact, that seems to be the most logical explanation. Meanwhile, the mystery of who shot Mr. Nguyen's wife still remains unsolved. The police investigated every single lead, but none of them panned out. Even Mr. Nguyen's sister gave up on finding the culprit. Today, Mr. Nguyen lives in a care home where he receives treatment for his illness. His father is still missing and his house is abandoned. His mother's murder remains unsolved and his sister is searching for answers. Do you have any theories? Let me know in the comments.